Land of the Giants. For 2 seasons, from 1968 to 1970, we followed the harrowing journey of the passengers and crew of the suborbital transport Spindrift. But after 51 episodes, the series was abruptly cancelled, leaving Captain Steve Burton and his companions forever stranded on a hostile world. There was no rescue, no homecoming. For over 50 years, fans have wondered, how would it have ended? What was the final chapter of their story? Today, we will embark on a historical reconstruction. We will not create a modern fan fiction, but rather attempt to craft a believable 3-part finale that could have been produced and aired in 1970, adhering to the show's established tone, characters, and production limitations. This is the story of how the castaways of the Spindrift might have finally found their way home. To understand the ending, we must first revisit the beginning. The date is June 12, 1983. Spindrift, a sleek commercial transport, is en route from New York to London. It encounters a bizarre storm, a strange distortion in space-time, and is pulled through to a parallel Earth. Everything here is the same, but 12 times larger. The survivors, Captain Burton, his co-pilot Dan Erickson, and stewardess Betty Hamilton, along with their passengers, the self-serving Commander Fitzhugh, the spoiled Valerie Scott, the young orphan Barry, and his dog Chipper, are now the size of insects in a land of giants. This was the brainchild of producer Irwin Allen, the master of disaster, already famous for Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space. Land of the Giants was his most expensive show yet, costing $250,000 per episode. The premise was simple survival. Each week brought a new threat, a new desperate scramble for safety, food, and parts to repair their damaged ship. Unlike Lost in Space, which veered into camp, Land of the Giants maintained a more serious, often grim, tone. The castaways were constantly hunted, not just by giant cats or scientists wanting to experiment on them, but by the totalitarian government's secret police, the SID, led by the relentless Inspector Kobik. The series was a pressure cooker, a weekly study in fear and desperation. The characters were not a family by choice, but a fractious group forged by circumstance. Captain Burton's unwavering leadership held them together, often clashing with Fitzhugh's cowardice and self-interest. Valerie evolved from a helpless socialite into a capable survivor. And young Barry, with his dog Chipper, represented the innocence they were all fighting to protect. The ultimate goal was always the same: repair the Spindrift and reactivate its flight systems to attempt a return trip through the space warp. But for 2 years, they remained trapped. To imagine a fitting 1970 finale, we must ground ourselves in the practical realities of television production from that era. Irwin Allen, for all his vision, ran a tight ship. Budgets were a constant concern, and Land of the Giants was already pushing the limits. A finale would not have featured an epic, movie-scale battle. Instead, it would have relied on clever use of existing sets, props, and a focus on character-driven drama. The massive props, the giant telephone, the oversized lab equipment, the huge safety pin, were expensive to build and would be heavily reused. Special effects, primarily matte paintings and forced perspective shots, were effective but time-consuming. An ending would need to maximize their impact without requiring a host of new, costly visuals. The narrative would also be constrained by the established tone. The show was about survival and hope against overwhelming odds, not grand spectacle. Any resolution would need to feel earned, emerging from the characters' ingenuity and endurance rather than a sudden, convenient miracle. The 1970s television landscape also favored contained, episodic storytelling. While we are proposing a 3-part arc, each episode would still need its own internal structure, a specific goal, a crisis, and a resolution that leads into the next part of the story. The core of the drama would be psychological and moral, forcing the characters to make difficult choices. This framework of fiscal and creative constraints is not a limitation, but a guide to creating an authentic conclusion. The ending had to be achievable within the show's own universe and its real-world production budget. Our proposed finale begins with a 3-episode arc. The first part is titled The Last Chance. The episode opens with Dan Erickson, the ship's engineer, making a breakthrough. After months of painstaking work, he believes he has jury-rigged the Spindrift's guidance system to track the residual energy signature of the space warp they came through. The problem is, they lack the final component, a rare, highly conductive power cell used in the Giants' advanced communication networks. They know one such cell exists at a nearby SID communications outpost. It's a suicide mission, but it's their only shot. As the team plans the infiltration, Commander Fitzhugh intercepts a Giants radio broadcast. He learns that Inspector Kobik has been demoted following his repeated failures to capture the little people. His replacement is a notoriously ruthless officer who plans to fumigate the entire forest area with a deadly nerve gas to eradicate the castaways once and for all. They have less than 72 hours. The episode becomes a tense race against time, a classic heist. They use their knowledge of the Giants' world, creating diversions and navigating the treacherous outpost. The episode ends with a partial victory. They secure the power cell, but in the chaos, Valerie is captured by the disgraced but still dangerous Inspector Kobik, who sees her as his last chance for redemption. The second episode, The Cost, raises the stakes and introduces a powerful moral dilemma. Captain Burton is now faced with an impossible choice. The space warp's energy signature is fading. Dan calculates they have one window for escape, and it's closing fast. If they wait, they will be trapped forever. But Valerie is Kobik's prisoner. Fitzhugh, surprisingly, argues they must leave. He coldly states that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, a pragmatic but cruel assessment. The group is torn apart. Barry is terrified of leaving Valerie behind. Betty is horrified by Fitzhugh's suggestion. Burton refuses to abandon a member of his crew. The episode focuses on this internal conflict. Meanwhile, we see Valerie's plight. Kobik is not holding her for the authorities. He's a desperate man, keeping her in a secluded cabin, planning to use her as leverage to regain his status. Burton devises a risky plan. He will trade the Spindrift itself for Valerie's life. He contacts Kobik, offering the Giants' most sought-after prize. The climax is a tense negotiation. Burton, using his wits, sets the terms. The exchange will happen at the edge of a cliff. As Kobik arrives with Valerie, the rest of the crew, hidden nearby, trigger a rock slide, creating a diversion. In the confusion, they rescue Valerie, but Fitzhugh, in a shocking act of self-sacrifice, stays behind to ensure the others can escape. He confronts Kobik, creating a delay that allows the Spindrift to power up, but he is captured. His final act is one of redemption, saving the people he so often undermined. The final episode is titled Homeward Bound. The crew is back on the Spindrift, but the mood is somber. Fitzhugh's sacrifice hangs heavy in the air. They have the power cell, they have Valerie, but they've lost a man. There's no time to grieve. The gas is coming, and the temporal window is minutes from closing. Dan and Steve work frantically to install the new cell and calibrate the navigation system. The final sequence is a masterclass in tension, using existing cockpit footage and sound effects. Alarms blare. The ship shakes violently. On the view screen, they see the shimmering distortion of the space warp. Outside, the Giants' vehicles are closing in. The ship lifts off just as the fumigation fog begins to roll through the trees. They pilot the Spindrift into the swirling vortex, the journey just as turbulent and terrifying as the one that brought them here. For a moment, it seems they won't make it. The ship groans, systems flicker, and then, silence. A blue sky. They look at the scanner. The ship's chronometer reads June 12, 1983, just moments after they originally vanished. They are home. The final shot is not of a grand celebration. It is a quiet, reflective moment inside the cockpit. The exhausted survivors look at each other. They are forever changed by their experience. Captain Burton looks at Fitzhugh's empty seat, a silent tribute. The camera pulls back from the Spindrift as it flies towards a familiar London skyline, the journey finally over. And so, the saga of the Spindrift concludes, not with a parade, but with the quiet, profound relief of survival. This three-part finale would have provided closure, honored the show's established tone, and given the characters the ending they deserved, all within the practical constraints of 1970s television. It offers a final, poignant lesson from the land of the Giants, that even in the face of impossible odds, courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice can lead the way home. But what do you think? Is this a fitting conclusion to Irwin Allen's classic series? What would your version of the final episode look like? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time with Two Tales Tales. If you enjoyed this historical reconstruction, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into classic television.